Let's get right into it. Number 8. The candy that was never sweet. Picture this. You're 6 years old, and someone offers you candy, except every time you reach for it, they pull it away. Maybe they laugh. Maybe they yell. Maybe they say, "You don't deserve it." Fast forward 20 years, and now you're chasing that same candy, except it's not candy anymore. It's alcohol, nicotine, dopamine, anything that finally lets your brain unclench for a minute. See, childhood trauma doesn't just make you sad, it rewires your entire reward system. When you grow up in chaos, your brain learns that comfort is unreliable, that it has to chase relief like a survival mission. Every time something good almost happens, your nervous system whispers, "Don't trust it." Neuroscientists call this dysregulated reward circuitry. Translation: your brain stops trusting joy, you stop trusting safety. So instead of naturally enjoying things, you need external proof that you can feel good: a drink, a pill, a relationship, a bag of chips the size of a toddler. It's not weakness, it's basic neurobiology. Basically, addiction is your brain's way of trying to finally get the candy, even if it's been stale for years. Number 7. Cortisol Kindergarten. Your first teacher wasn't Miss Appleton, it was cortisol. If your childhood was filled with screaming, unpredictability, or that fun game called Guess Which Parent's Mood You're Surviving Today, then your body grew up marinated in stress hormones. Chronic stress in childhood hardwires your amygdala. That's the part of your brain that handles fear to act like it's living in a haunted house 24/7. You're jumpy, hypervigilant, and always waiting for something bad to happen. Then one day, you find something that turns the volume down: weed, gaming, gambling, sugar, you name it. Your body sighs in relief and says, "Finally, peace." But the thing that brings you peace also becomes the thing that owns you. This is why trauma survivors often say, "I just wanted to feel normal," because when you've spent your whole childhood on high alert, even calmness feels suspicious. Addiction, in that sense, isn't a moral failure, it's DIY emotional regulation. Your body's saying, "If no one taught me safety, I'll manufacture it." Number 6. The dopamine loan shark. Here's how it works. Your brain, traumatized since childhood, becomes a dopamine accountant. It's stingy. It's paranoid. It treats happiness like a high-interest loan. When you grow up around chaos, your brain learns that feeling good comes with consequences, so it stops producing steady dopamine, that lovely little molecule of motivation and pleasure. Now, instead of a steady trickle, you get a drought, followed by floods. Enter addiction. Substances and compulsions don't give you new dopamine, they borrow it from your future. It's like emotional payday loans, you get the rush now, but the crash later. What's worse, your brain starts to forget how to feel joy without stimulation. You can't just enjoy a sunny day anymore, you need fireworks. And when those fireworks burn out, your brain panics and runs back for more. Basically, childhood trauma didn't just make you anxious, it taught your brain to mistrust happiness. Addiction is just the inevitable middleman in that toxic negotiation. Number 5. The ghosts of emotional neglect. Not all trauma screams. Some of it just stays quiet, and that's the dangerous kind. If you grew up in a house where your feelings were invisible, your brain learned one important rule: you don't matter unless you're useful or entertaining. That lesson doesn't go away, it just evolves. Suddenly, as an adult, you're addicted not just to substances, but to people, validation, drama, even overworking. Emotional neglect is the silent cousin of chaos. It doesn't hit you, it just forgets you exist, but your nervous system notices. It learns to fill that void with anything that creates even a flicker of connection: scrolling, drinking, love bombing, or binge-watching shows until 3 a.m., pretending you're not lonely. So when someone says, "Addicts just want to escape," they're half right. What they're really escaping is the ghost of being unseen. Your brain doesn't crave the drug, it craves being felt. Number 4. The good kid time bomb. You know that kid in school who always got straight A's, never caused trouble, and seemed totally fine? Yeah, statistically speaking, there's a good chance that kid was emotionally imploding inside. Growing up in trauma often forces kids to become mini-adults, hyper-responsible, obedient, caretakers of everyone else's feelings. They learn that being good is the only way to stay safe. But being good comes at a cost: total emotional suppression. And here's where it gets messy. When that kid finally becomes an adult, all those bottled-up feelings start leaking out: anxiety, rage, grief, exhaustion. The emotional dam breaks, and the flood needs somewhere to go. So, it goes to substances. Because substances don't argue. They don't demand. They just offer instant rebellion, a break from perfection. Every drink, every pill, every binge is a middle finger to the invisible pressure that said, you must never mess up. So, the good kid grows up and turns to addiction not because they were weak, but because they were too strong for too long. Basically, their meltdown is just a delayed childhood catching up. Number 3. The Shame Vortex. Trauma doesn't just teach you to survive, it teaches you to blame yourself for surviving. If you grew up being shamed, ignored, or abused, you internalize the message that you were the problem. That shame doesn't dissolve with age, it just burrows deeper. It becomes the voice that whispers, "You're not enough." Now imagine you find something, a substance, a habit that makes that voice shut up for a while. It feels like relief, but it's really a trap. Because once the high wears off, the shame comes back louder. You did it again. You're hopeless, so you use again just to quiet it. It's a psychological feedback loop. Straight from hell, shame causes the addiction, and addiction fuels more shame. Round and round it goes, until you start to believe the voice. The truth? That shame was never yours to carry, but trauma taught you to wear it like a second skin. Basically, shame is the invisible dealer behind every addiction. Number 2. The memory landmine effect. One of trauma's worst party tricks is how it hides in your memory. You might think you're fine until one random smell, sound, or song detonates a flashback you didn't know existed. Traumatic memories don't age like normal ones. They're stored in the body and reactivated whenever something feels remotely similar. So, even years later, your nervous system reacts like it's still happening right now. Addiction slips in as the easiest off switch. Substances numb the flashbacks, slow the heart rate, drown the mental noise, but they also make the memories blurrier so you never fully process them. It's like putting duct tape over a smoke alarm instead of putting out the fire. And then you wonder why the alarm keeps going off. This is why trauma therapy feels so uncomfortable. It's finally forcing your brain to let those memories move through instead of getting stuck. But without that healing, addiction will always be your emergency fire extinguisher, quick, temporary, and never enough. Basically, your brain keeps pressing replay, addiction keeps pressing mute. Number 1. The healing rebellion. Here's the ultimate twist. Healing from childhood trauma is the most rebellious thing you can do, because it goes against every rule your past tried to write into your nervous system. Your trauma says, don't trust anyone. Healing says, let's try. Your trauma says, stay numb. Healing says, feel it anyway. Your trauma says, you'll always be this way. Healing says, watch me. Addiction isn't the story of weakness, it's the story of adaptation gone too far. It's your brain's desperate, creative, and ultimately self-defeating way of staying alive in a world that hurt you. The problem isn't that you wanted relief. The problem is that no one showed you how to get it safely. When you start therapy, or open up to someone, or even just admit you're not okay, that's your nervous system learning a new language, one that doesn't start with panic and end with numbness. Recovery is your brain doing something radical, learning to feel good without having to escape first. So yeah, childhood trauma and addiction are tangled up like bad headphone wires, but every time you reach for healing instead of a fix, you're quietly untangling them, one stubborn knot at a time. Basically, recovery isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world convinced you to forget. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.